Welcome gamers of all sizes, my name is Christian, nice to meet you. On today's video I want to go over just a couple things that happened this week, from the Tears of the Kingdom presentation to The Last of Us on PC failing and the E3 officially being cancelled, with a couple of other little stuff in between. If it's your first time on the channel, please consider subscribing as it does help me out tons. If you like the video, do me a favor and like the video. And with that, let's get into it. Starting things off big with Nintendo's presentation of The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, as they showed off 11 minutes of straight up gameplay. Mr. Anuma showed off some of the things that make this game different comparative to Breath of the Wild. And I don't think people necessarily needed to see this, just because people were already anticipating this game. This is already going to be one of the biggest games of the year. It won most anticipated game of 2023. With that being said, it was awesome to see the crazy things that they added into this game. One of the things that I thought was really cool was that they were just kind of showing you the most bare bones basic uses of his new skills. That way they really left it up to the community to come up with some crazy things. I definitely think they're setting up for tons of content creators and news articles to come up with some crazy things themselves, and that's definitely going to keep The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom in the conversation the entire year, because they pretty much just showed us really remedial things like he stuck a big rock onto a stick, or a stick to a pitchfork to make a really long stick. Things that were like really wacky and silly, but definitely got tons of creative people's brains going, thinking, like, wow, what are they going to be able to create? And I think it's going to be really exciting with the upcoming year to see all the crazy stuff that people are going to come up with. They also showed off Link's new Ultra Hand ability, where you can pretty much craft like vehicles and stuff like that. In the presentation, they showed him just sticking 3 logs together to make like a boat. And again, a really remedial idea that I know tons of people, that got tons of people excited, because you know there's going to be tons of crazy creative people coming up with the most coolest things ever. And I want to see like how in detail it can be. Like, are you just sticking 3 things together, or like can you cut up pieces? Overall, it was just a really great presentation. They showed off the sky, a little bit of the sky world, which again, adding a whole new map to Hyrule is just going to be phenomenal. I think if you weren't already hyped for this game, this definitely solidified that this might be game of the year. I know for tons of people, they've already marked it as game of the year for them. And this pretty much just looks like Breath of the Wild on like crazy steroids. Like, they threw everything at this game. It's definitely looking really phenomenal, and I just can't wait for May 12th to get here. In smaller but still really cool news, Nintendo did announce that they're gonna extend the deadline for the closure of the Nintendo Wii U eShop and 3DS eShop up until April 3rd. So this does give people a little bit more time to buy whatever it is that they need. But at this point, I feel like if you haven't bought what you needed, you don't really want anything from these eShops. So, I mean, it is really cool that they did give a final shot. So make sure that you take advantage if there is something that you desperately do really want. Other than that, let's all get ready to say goodbye to the Wii U eShop and 3DS eShop again. Moving on to PlayStation, they did announce the games coming for free to all PS Plus subscribers for the month of April. So the games included are Meet Your Maker, Sackboy: A Big Adventure, and Tales of Iron. Meet Your Maker is dropping day and date on the PS Plus for free, so that's pretty cool for us. Meet Your Maker is a first-person shooter slash build game where you gonna have to like build your own tower defense, etc. It does look really cool, and I'm very interested to see what it is. Sackboy's Big Adventure, if you're unfamiliar with the Little Big Planet games, this is a 2D slash 3D platformer game where you play as Sackboy. I always was a really big fan of Little Big Planet. I played the first one, second one, and third one. I never got a chance to actually play Sackboy's Big Adventure. It didn't really seem worth the money. But now that it's coming for free to all PlayStation Plus subscribers, I'm definitely pretty excited to actually play this one and see how much fun it is. And then Tales of Iron isn't a game that I've ever heard of. Someone looking into this, it is an epic RPG adventure with punishingly brutal combat. So it does look very interesting with the art style. I'm definitely willing to give this game a shot. And it's just cool the different varieties that they're adding into this month of games, from like a shooter to a platformer to an RPG game. I don't think this month is like the most craziest month we've ever seen, but it is definitely a good month, so I'm pretty excited for these games. Another really cool announcement is that Live Alive, which was previously a Nintendo Switch exclusive, is moving to the PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, and PC via Steam on April 27th. If you haven't played Live Alive, this is a phenomenal remake done in the HD 2D art style by Square Enix. It is a very phenomenal game where you play as different characters from different timelines, and they all have their own kind of standalone stories, and then towards the end they all kind of intertwine together. And it's just a very interesting RPG. It definitely has very like Super Nintendo type tropes in it, but it is done really phenomenally, and the remake just adds a whole new life to this game. And I definitely recommend, if you haven't tried this, definitely give it a shot. Sony and Naughty Dog finally poured over The Last of Us Part 1 over to PC, and PC players are pissed when they attempted to boot up this game and it's just glitchy and laggy, and its frame rates are skipping. It's just full of bugs. It's definitely not the greatest moment for PC ports, and I feel like this has been a common trend with PlayStation or with Sony moving their games over to the PC. They're definitely not optimizing it correctly, and I don't know if it's just that they're not putting enough love into it or enough like care into it. Maybe they're selling their PC ports aren't really selling as much as they'd hoped, but this definitely pissed off tons of PC players, which led to PlayStation players kind of just throwing shots at them, saying like, well, just get a PlayStation if you want to play Last of Us properly. I mean, in the end of the day, I feel like if you're going to be porting over your game, especially a game like The Last of Us, which most people hold to such high regards, especially after the HBO show just finally ended and you got tons of new eyes on The Last of Us as a game, as an entity, this would have been the perfect time to capitalize on a new market of people who haven't really experienced The Last of Us yet. So I feel like this was definitely a huge miss on Sony for not really taking the time to make sure that it was ported over properly and that it ran smoothly on all different systems. With that being said, if you really wanted to play Last of Us this bad, you should have played it on PlayStation. Moving away from a game that wasn't perceived well to a game that was previewed very well, Tekken 8 previews are finally out. The media finally got their hands on this game, and it looks like it is doing really, really well. People who have played the game are saying it is phenomenal. Even non-fighting game players who got their hands on it were saying how fun this game is, how intuitive it is, and how it is definitely the next step for Tekken, which is definitely a weird thing to hear from Tekken. Tekken's not really a franchise game that really adds things new or crazy to it. It kind of just builds on whatever it previously added. But all in all, it definitely got me super excited to play Tekken. I've been very excited to play Tekken 8 since they announced it last year, and every subsequent trailer I've seen of it just got me more hyped for it. As someone who's loved Tekken back since Tekken 3, I love fighting games, and this is the premier 3D fighting game, kind of one of the last 3D fighting games left standing, and for good reason. Tekken is just such a phenomenal game. After Tekken 7 has brought the franchise to new heights, I can't wait to see if Tekken 8 can help elevate it even further. With that being said, Tekken 8 previews phenomenal. Definitely can't wait to check this game out. Another game that was previewed very highly was The Lies of P. If you're unfamiliar with The Lies of P, this is a Souls-like game that takes place in like the Pinocchio lore. So it is it's borrowing heavily from games like Bloodborne and Demon Souls. This looks phenomenal. I definitely love when games take quirky stories and kind of adds their own dark twist to it. And Pinocchio is always kind of like a really creepy idea to me anyways. It is definitely really exciting to see them take this kid's story and kind of like transition it to this very dark, creepy style game with Souls elements. Is just gonna like help elevate this game. I think this is gonna be a very worthy addition to the long line of great Souls-like games, and I'm just really excited to see people hyped for this game. I'm hyped for this one. I'm definitely can't wait to check this one out. Alright, moving on to our final piece of story. This is a story that kind of escalated quickly this week. It started a couple months back when PlayStation, Xbox, and Nintendo all announced officially that they will not be attending E3 this year, which definitely led a lot of people talking about, is E3 worth going if the big three aren't going to be there? But we had companies like Ubisoft and Konami still saying that they were going to be there. But then earlier this week, Ubisoft pulled out seemingly out of nowhere after previously saying that they were definitely going to be at the E3. And what made it even more weird was that they were still holding an in-person event. So they're still holding their Ubisoft Forward in LA around the same time as E3, which definitely got a lot of people speculating on whether or not E3 was going to happen this year. And then companies like Sega also pulled out. After a lot of companies have not been confirming that they were going to be showing up to E3, the ESA finally made the announcement that E3 2023 is officially canceled. There will not be an E3 this year, which kind of sucks for people who already purchased tickets and already made plans to travel out there. Another thing that also makes this really sad is just the fact that E3 hasn't really had an official E3 since 2019, and there has been a lot of speculation and chatter about, is E3 really worth it nowadays for these companies? Should E3 even exist in today's world? I mean, we have things like Summer's Games Fest, we have Nintendo Directs, Sony has their showcases and state of plays. I don't really think an E3 is necessary anymore, especially now that we kind of get announcements for games throughout the entire year. You don't really wait till summer to hear all the games that are coming out for the fall. E3 definitely seems that it is done officially. There will no longer be an E3. If there is an E3 2024, it is definitely going to be a shell of what it ever once was in its heyday. It is going to be missed, however. I mean, E3 was a hype event for tons of people. I'm just really excited to see what the game industry comes up with next to replace E3, or if there even needs to be a replacement for E3. Alright, so those are all our topics that happened this week. Looking forward to next week and tons of other stuff that's going to be happening. Let me know down below if you guys are excited for Tears of the Kingdom, if you're going to be missing E3. With that all being said, I'll see you guys on the next video.